you're basically turning teams that make primarily single player games into a live service studio, which is absolutely brain dead. But the real issue was the studio didn't realize that to keep this game going, they would have had to the whole studio would have to turn into a live service studio.
Completely oblivious, yeah.
Which is like...
PlayStation's push for live service has led to over half its games being cancelled. In the initial announcement by Herman Holtz, were you originally optimistic that they would succeed, or did you think where we're currently at right now with all these games being cancelled was always going to be the inevitable?
Yeah, the way I viewed it was like, I didn't particularly have any faith in them, but I was still like, I think there was a lot of people doing early obituaries for their live service. Like, we hadn't actually seen their live service and they're like, oh, this is dead in the water. It's like, well, let them actually come out with something. And now it's been a complete unmitigated disaster. It's been like, what was it? Wasn't it 12 was the initial kind of
12, and they had half of them cancelled.
Yeah, so
I think like 3 or 4 is going to come out probably, who knows.
Yeah, if even. And like, obviously we had Concord, which was the biggest flop in AAA history. Like, and the funny thing as well is, like, fair enough if Sony was like, okay, let's see how this goes, but internally they were like really high on this, which is absolutely, like, I reviewed it and stuff, and it's a fine game. Like, it can be fun to play, but like, for example, the game modes are just the exact same: team deathmatch, you know, capture the flag. What exactly is it doing new that's like so groundbreaking that people are going to want to jump on board? I think Helldivers 2 has been absolutely excellent. I think the whole meta story has been brilliant. The way it's like, you know, we have an news update about what's going on and Super. That's been great. But everything, like, for me, the main issue I think was just how late they were to the game. Because when you think of it, Fortnite is already established. Apex Legends is established. Like, Roblox, which is, you know, it's not like them, but it's kind of this creative. You think of Dreams or something. Roblox is a huge thing. You basically have all these, even something like Rainbow Six Siege, which was the extraction shooter that really got it kicked off, the Division. So you have all these properties that are already like dominating the space, even like Warzone as well. And then you're expected to come in there, and just because like you're Sony, it's going to be successful. Obviously, as a lot of people said, their idea was probably to throw a lot at the wall and hope 1 or 2 stick to get that, you know, revenue. You want to get that kind of consistent revenue. But like, for me, it was just disastrous because they were late to the game, and I think secondly, it was also, you're basically turning teams that make primarily single player games into a live service studio, which is absolutely brain dead. Like, look at The Last of Us Online. Obviously Destiny, or should I say Bungie, came in and said, you know, how is this going to be profitable long term, blah blah blah. But the real issue was the studio didn't realize that to keep this game going, they would have had to the whole studio would have to turn into a live service studio.
Completely oblivious, yeah.
Which is like, how does that not happen in the pre-production stage at some point where it's like, okay, so say if this is a success, how many people will we need to constantly update this and all that? And then if they did know that, or like, if they had a contingency plan for that, it doesn't necessarily mean that Naughty Dog would need to do that. They could get like a support studio to help with the content, and obviously they can have a look over the assets and be like, yeah, we give you our blessing, this looks good, you know, and, you know, they can bring dates. But like, I get what they were doing, this idea of like leveraging their franchises, but the fact that they're basically having their internal studios who just make single player games do it is ridiculous. And also, what would have been of this generation if they didn't go so gung-ho